All right, so we finally have the April security patch for the Galaxy S23 Ultra. This has been available over in Korea and overseas now for a bit, but I finally just got it on my US version of the S23 Ultra, and I can't wait to tell you about my experience because there's been a lot of hype centered around this update considering it brought so many camera improvements. But the question is, what did it actually do? And we're gonna find out. So first things first, I'm inside of my software settings on both phones. I'm gonna go under software information and scroll all the way down, and you can see this one over here is running the February 1st Android security patch, and the one on the left is running the April 1st security patch. So the very first fix or change to the camera was a new feature that allows you to delete a photo as soon as you take it inside of the gallery, regardless if it's processing or not. This honestly didn't make any difference for my use case. I took portrait mode shots and 200 megapixel and 50 megapixel shots on both phones, and I was able to delete them in the same amount of time, regardless of processing. The second change has to do with autofocus. So it says that the AF concept has been changed so that when the user presses the shutter button, the focus can be taken immediately even if the focus is not completely aligned. However, this can be changed inside of the camera assistant settings. Basically, it's going to immediately capture a photo regardless if it's in focus, thus speeding up any shutter lag issues. So if you had shutter lag problems, this is how you can fix it. Just update to the April security patch, and it really does make a difference. As you see here, the shutter is much faster than what it used to be. So props to Samsung for fixing this issue. However, if you notice that your photos are coming out blurry, let me show you where you can enable the focus priority over the shutter priority. So you're gonna go into your camera settings. You're gonna go into the camera assistant. So make sure that you download that, which is available in the Samsung Galaxy store. Again, follow the steps I did in my previous video. Once you're inside of the camera assistant settings, you're gonna see an option for prioritize focus over speed. Just enable that and it will go back to the way that it was. So if your photos are coming out blurry, make sure to enable that and that should be the fix. Over here on the February 1st security patch, you can see that there is no option to prioritize focus over speed. So this is definitely something new. So now we're gonna talk about video a little bit, in specific super steady video in low light using the ultra wide because there has been some fixes. Samsung states that we have improved sharpness and reduced flicker when using super steady mode in low light with the ultra wide. And it will also show a tip if it needs more light. So in my testing, there is a huge difference in quality when using super steady video in low light now. I mean, just take a look here. Like it is insane, the difference in quality. One's muddy, noisy, flickering all over the place, and the other is kind of usable, especially for social media. And about that message, that's definitely accurate. You can see the message pops up right here on the newer firmware versus the older firmware. So kudos to Samsung. This was definitely a good fix. The next fix is for anybody that's getting like green streaks or lines whenever you're capturing photos using the rear cameras. Now, I personally have not experienced this, so I don't really have any examples to give you, like a before and after, but I guess rest assured that it has been fixed. The next fix has to do with stabilization whenever you're recording full HD 60 frames per second and you have the auto frames per second setting turned on. If you don't know where the auto frames per second setting is, let me show you. So if you go into the camera settings under video mode, you're gonna see auto FPS right up here at the top. Go ahead and toggle that on, and that's going to help you get brighter video in low light conditions. Now, previously, if you had that setting turned on, you were getting some weird stabilization issues when recording video. However, I'm happy to say this issue has been fixed. If you look at the differences in the firmware, you can see the newer firmware is definitely smoother. It almost has like a glide cam effect to it. So I'm happy to see this fix for sure. Next up, we're finally getting into some image quality differences, specifically with the high resolution mode. Samsung states that the new update has improved line-shaped banding noise in mid to low light sky when shooting high pixels in low and medium light. The overall sharpness has been optimized when shooting high pixels and improved intermittent blur through OIS stabilization. In a nutshell, we should have less artifacts and banding in the sky when shooting as the sun is going down, or if you're shooting at night and there's a lot of light pollution in the sky. Additionally, some images were coming out blurry when trying to capture a 50 or 200 megapixel shot due to the optical image stabilization, and all of that should be fixed. However, here's the thing. I took a ton of pictures, and honestly, it is back and forth. The new update does improve some of the banding in the sky, but when you look at it compared to the February 1st security patch, it is back and forth, because sometimes it does a good job on the new firmware update, and then sometimes the older firmware does better. So I don't know what is happening here. And when it comes to images coming out blurry, what I can tell you is I didn't receive any weird artifacts or anything like that on the older firmware, but on the newer firmware, if you look at my wife's hairline right here, it randomly added this weird black shadow. So it's not completely fixed, but I guess any improvement is better than none. The next improvement is a weird one. It states that it fixes a malfunction that occurs when shooting after night off or scene optimizer has been turned off in low light after selecting the shooting speed, high resolution, and speed first inside of camera assistant. Now, if you go inside of the camera assistant and then go under shooting speed, under high resolution, and then do speed priority, and then go back into the camera, and then turn off scene optimizer or night mode, it shouldn't have any malfunctions. I'm just gonna be real, like that was one of the most confusing fixes I have ever seen, and I don't really notice a difference. Let me know what you think of that fix, because personally, I never had a malfunction when it comes to shooting low light pictures with scene optimizer turned off or without night mode in high resolution. I don't know. I don't know what to think about that one, but there you go. If that's you, that's fixed. Lastly, we have a fix when it comes to face recognition when using the camera. In specific, the April firmware update states that it fixes the issue of face recognition intermittently after the end of a third-party video call. I, again, have not had this issue. Let me know what your experience has been down in the comments. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider dropping this video a thumbs up. Subscribe for more videos just like this. And if you're interested in picking up an S23 Ultra, you can always find those links down in the description as well as the pinned comment. Outside of that, I'll see you beautiful people in the next one.